Good morning, Holly Street friends. It is Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. It's a lot of 20s in there. Pretty neat. Today, I want to show you a few more things that you can do with bubbles. I love playing with bubbles. They're fun. As long as you're outside, they're not especially messy. But here's some things that you can do inside. Well, one thing you can do inside, and two things that you can make inside and go play with outside to have some fun making different kinds of bubbles. All right, let's check out what we're gonna do. Slide this over so it's a little better. All right, as you can see, I have a shallow plate, a straw. Can't really see it here. I've got a toothpick, and then I've got some other stuff that I'll show you a little bit later. The first thing that I want to do is to show you how to make a really big bubble on our plate. And then we're going to talk about some parts, or some parts of the bubble, some interesting things about bubbles. So I'm going to pour some of my bubble soap onto there. I'm going to take my straw and just dip it into the edge and just blow very gently. Well, and that popped because I blew a little too hard. So if you blow a little too hard, the force of the air can break through the edge of the bubble and break that surface tension and make it pop. So you need to make sure that you're doing it kind of gently. I did end up with some big bubbles. See if you can see that on the video a little bit. Let me see if I can get another bigger one. Ah, it popped again. One more time. I think I'm going to leave it just like that for now. This does seem to be a little bit hard to see, but it looks like you can see it a little bit. So I'm going to take this toothpick and I'm going to use this to show you, and I bet you can guess what's going to happen when I poke the bubbles. Do you see it pop? So what is happening with the toothpick or with your finger is that when you touch the bubbles, you break the surface tension, and the surface tension is what is bonding the soap around the water that's covering the bubble of air. So when you break that, it makes a hole that the air can escape through, and that causes it to pop outwards. So let's pop this other big one, and all these little ones. Popping bubbles is one of the most fun parts about playing with bubbles, I think. So do you think that we can poke a bubble with this toothpick and have it not pop? It's a pretty sharp thing. Do you think there's any way that we could do that? We're going to try an experiment to see if we can. I'm going to make another couple of bubbles, hopefully one nice big visible one. Well, that's a pretty good one. How do you think we could poke this bubble with a toothpick and not have it pop? What we would have to do is make sure that we don't break that surface tension. So the trick that I found out is that if you take your toothpick and you dip it in more soap solution, it should coat that toothpick and make it so that, oh, look at that, it went right through. So as long as the part of the toothpick that is coated in the bubble solution is touching, the bubble's gonna stay a bubble. If you go past the part that was dipped in the solution, it's gonna break that surface tension and pop the bubble. There it goes in there again. Let's try that one more time. Oh, popped again. So we've got a bubble at this edge. I'm going to dip my toothpick in the bubble solution and poke it through. Now the toothpick is sticking through that bubble. Maybe if I do it on this side, it'll be a little more obvious that it's going through. Right through the edge of the bubble. You can see it inside the bubble now, and it's not popping. But if I turn it around and use the tip that hasn't been dipped in the solution, it pops. So that's how we can keep the bubbles from popping when we touch them. Even if you dip your finger in bubble solution, you can push the bubble and move it around. If it's floating in the air and you dip your finger in the solution, you might even be able to catch a bubble on your finger without it popping. Another experiment I want to try right now is I want to see if I can make a bubble inside another bubble. So we're going to use our straw again and try to make a big bubble on this plate. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our straw and we're going to dip it into the other bubble solution and try to gently poke it through and put a bubble inside. Now when you saw when I pulled the straw out, the bubble came out with it and ended up making a second bubble on the outside. Let's see if we can get one to stay on the inside. Oh, it came out too. But you can see that because there is soap on the straw, it can go through the bubble, and then I can blow another bubble inside. Look at that. Bubble inside a bubble. So that's that. It's a very neat experiment. Now I'm going to pop all these bubbles, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to make an unusual bubble maker. Now Mr. Dietrich did an awesome one with a soda bottle that got a really big bubble. That was a very cool one. I'm going to try to make one that makes what is kind of called a bubble snake. So for that, I'm going to take another soda bottle with the end cut off. Get Mom and Dad to help you cut that off. And then we're just going to take a sock. I found a sock in my daughter's drawer that I have not been able to find the mate to for a long time, so nice and convenient for that. We're just going to take the sock and pull it around the cut end of the bottle and pull it so that it gets kind of tight. There you go, kind of like this. Then we can take a little rubber band, or a large rubber band, just one that'll fit around, just to make sure that it holds. Now we just simply turn it over, dip the sock in the soap, and this should, when we blow through the tip, it should give us lots of tiny bubbles that stick together to make a snake. Let's see what happens. See how we made a nice long snake, and you can kind of keep going and bring it out, bring it around, do some more. You can make sculptures almost with it like this. It's like a bubble tower. And that's just kind of fun because you can almost handle that a little bit more. And as you bring your hand through it, the little bubbles will pop. And it keeps it a little more contained so you don't have bubbles floating all over your house if you want to do it inside. Another way to do it would be, let's see if we can try to pop all of these down. Kind of. Well, now my hands are all soapy, but that's okay. Another thing you can use to try to make a similar one, but with larger bubbles, is you can take this, which is the wrapping or the bag that fruit comes in sometimes. And you basically do the same process. This one I have folded in half, but you don't need to. Just take another bottle that's been cut, stretch it around as best you can, and use a rubber band to secure it. This one I think I'm going to need to double the rubber band, like that. And this will give you a different kind of bubble. Should be a little bit larger than the ones coming out of the sock. Let's see what we can do with it. Dip it down in, try to get all those little holes in the mesh filled in, and let's blow through that and see what happens. So it makes a similar snake, but with much larger bubbles. Let's try that again. And makes another nice bubble tower almost if you pull it off. And there you have 3 different ways to play with bubbles. 3 different ways to make different size bubbles. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I will talk to you again on Friday. Bye bye.